Hey everybody, I'm Marlon with Chronic Pain Warriors United. We hope you all had a really good week, good Christmas, and are ready for a new year. 2025 coming. We've got a lot of work to do this year. We have a lot of plans we would like to achieve, and we have a lot that this system needs to be changed of. So we have a lot that we're planning on and a lot of work to do. And with all of y'all and your help, we are absolutely going to do it. We're going to change this system and start saving lives because too many people are being lost to it right now. But with the Christmas just now coming to an end and the new year about to start, and us having been with our family, friends, followers, or anybody else that you happen to be hanging out with, um, we decided it was about time to talk about how chronic pain affects our relationships, how it affects the people around us, our partners, loved ones, and the impact it has on all of that. And to start with, I'm going to tell you a quick personal story, and I want to see how many of y'all can relate to it, have had very similar experiences yourself, or maybe even the exact same type of thing. I would imagine that a lot of people will relate to this. So, my ex fiance and I, she was with me for almost 4 years before she decided to leave. Set the table with that. My ex fiance and I were making a trip down to Pensacola, Florida. I call it my island, but it's not my island. Santa Rosa Island in Pensacola, Florida, one of the most beautiful places on earth. I don't care what anybody says. Beautiful place. And we had gone down there for 3, 4 days for a long weekend type thing. And it was all going fine. We were having fun. We were doing our thing, no more limited than I normally was in any of my outings or anything we were doing. It was pretty good. And then I'm going through my medications that I had on me at the time, and I realize I don't have enough medication to get to the last day of our vacation, right? So we have to cut the vacation a day short so that I can leave Pensacola, Florida, almost paradise, Santa Rosa Island, and come back up to Birmingham, Alabama a day early. And it usually wouldn't have been a huge deal, but it's not like the first time that had happened with us. Not on a vacation like that, but where my issues had come in and gotten in between us and something we wanted to do. And that's the point of this story. Our medical problems seep into almost every aspect of our life. And it has an impact on almost every aspect of our lives. And that starts to have a massive impact on our partners and loved ones. With, we'll call her Jane. With Jane, it reminded her of issues she had with her mom and dad and them stopping vacations or things they were doing early because of their own issues. So it brought that up. And then also the fact that it was just not the first time it had happened. Like I said, not on a vacation like that, but it interrupted things, it prevented us from doing things, etc., etc. Now, she knew that I had this issue before we started getting serious into a relationship. Others will have partners or wives that they've been married to for a long time, and then they get hurt and these things start happening, and that can be even more damaging to the relationship because these limitations did not ever exist before, and all of a sudden they're being placed, and the partner resents it. They don't like it. They don't want it to be happening, and they resent that our limitations are transferred and placed on them as well. And I understand that. I mean, I do. So that is what starts causing a lot of friction. And I put that under the emotional and physical toll because there's this constant, can we do this? Can I do that? Do I have enough medications for this? If we do that, how long will we be? there's always seems like there's some limitation or some question or some asterisk next to what we want to do, our plans or our lives, that constantly hampers whatever we're trying to achieve. And excuse me, our partners get super frustrated, super aggravated, and even just downright angry that this is being placed onto them as well. And I have a few bullet points on my phone that I'm looking at. Like I said, I don't use scripts or teleprompters or anything. Maybe I will start in the future, but right now I don't. I just have some bullet points of the things that, from my relationship and from research I've done, seem to be the ones that cause the most problems. Along with that emotional and physical toll is acceptance of the word chronic. A lot of partners and even us, when we first have this pain start to come up, we think that the only way that we can get back to a happy relationship or a happy life is with a cure of some kind. And for the vast majority of those suffering with chronic pain, that's just not going to be the case. That's not the nature of chronic pain. Mine comes from a temporomandibular joint issue that cannot be repaired, cannot be fixed, and I will likely deal with for the rest of my life. And that is the issue with many chronic pain patients. They have issues that are not going away. And for our loved ones and partners to accept that is extremely difficult. Even though they know it in the back of their minds a lot of times, the practicality of it, the actual application of it to their lives becomes more and more obvious every time there's some event that we can't go to, some plan we have to cancel, something that they want to do that we cannot do. And that just constantly happens and eats away. A lot of times you'll even hear people complain about their partners telling them, like their doctors do sometimes, this is all in your head. You're just making it up in your mind. If you would just stop focusing on these things, or if you would be more positive, or whatever. You hear that from partners all the time. And a lot of them don't even mean it maliciously. They're just so mad and so frustrated and so lack so much understanding of how we're going through this and how we have to live, that their brain starts just lashing out. And then the fact that we also get that from our doctors and partners or loved ones is so damaging, so hurtful. If you're one of those individuals who's watching these videos to learn about what your loved one may be going through, take that on board if you take nothing else. Doing those types of things is extremely hurtful. Next would be like the communication issues and communication breakdowns. Chronic pain leads to misunderstanding because the pain itself is often invisible, and it's hard for our partners or loved ones to quantify. With mine, I have no visible cue at all that I've been living in chronic, life-altering pain for the last 10 years. If you just met me in the gas station and were talking to me, you would have no idea. And then there's other people that do ask me, Marlon, how do you do these? I set time out through the day to where I'm like, okay, I'll use this time to talk during the video, and then I set time out through the rest of the day where I don't. I can't talk like this all throughout the day. I just can't. Anyways, this can result in the other partner feeling super frustrated, and it just leads to more and more communication breakdown because they don't understand where we're coming from. We can't understand where they're coming from a lot of times because they're frustrated, they're aggravated, and they're trying to help a lot of times, but they don't know how to. And this chronic pain issues just puts up more and more walls between us and pushes us further and further away from each other because we're less and less capable of understanding each other. It's super sad. And the biggest issue here, I think, having lost my fiance, is just like I just said, those walls coming up, the pain arrives, the level of activity drops dramatically. Your partner isn't okay with it, but they don't know how to tell you they're not okay with it. And it just keeps going and going and going. The next big impact is on physical intimacy and our sexual relationships. And I'm going to quote some data on this one. Over 70% of individuals with chronic pain report problems with intimacy. Physical pain can massively affect intimacy and sexual relations, leading to a decrease in physical closeness. Some of our medications can also cause a decrease in sex drive. This is a much bigger problem than many acknowledge, like most of the issues those of us suffering have to overcome. It can and does cause big problems for us and our relationships. Welldoing.org, which I read and recommend, had this to say. Most couples believe that the only way to get their happy and passionate relationship back when chronic pain steals it is to find a cure. Sure, cures would be amazing, but for many of us, there is a moment when the gravity of that word chronic hits, which is what I was saying above. And it's then important to know there are other roads to a joy-filled relationship. I mean, like I said, the chronic part, again, it will keep coming up. It doesn't sink in for our partners as fast as it does for us who suffer because they aren't living it. And we don't want them to. I would never want that for anyone that I love. What I do think would be awesome would be if we could come up with some sort of mind meld thing like the Vulcans have, you know? Excuse me. My nose is itching, I'm sorry. But if we could do like a mind meld thing like Spock and the Vulcans, all of these issues with our doctors not wanting to help us, our loved ones not understanding, it'd all be over tomorrow. If they could just feel what we feel and think how we think and everything, just absorb all that for just a few moments, everything would be very different. And then the next one that I would say is the most harming is the social isolation, which I've spoken of a little bit in other videos. But that's just the feeling of I'm being cut off from my friends and family and events that I like to do because we cannot do the things we used to do before this pain arrived. And the more and more that happens, the more we who suffer are cut off, and the more our loved ones feel like they are being cut off from their life and their friends through nothing they've done. And it's not like the vast majority of those suffering from chronic pain did not do anything. We didn't cause it. We didn't ask for it. It's not like we said, oh, I'm going to go out here and get in this accident and have this pain for the rest of my life. Now, there are some issues where people were doing extremely risky things and they knew those risks. I get that. But that's a very small percentage. And so they feel like their life is being encroached on and that they are being cut off through nothing they've done. And it, again, builds resentment and frustration. I mean, I think that's one of the things you're going to see over and over and over again when we talk about mental health and our issues in connecting and relationships. It's that lack of ability for others to understand, along with the fact that we cannot take part at near the level that we may have used to have done. It's just a cumulative effect that is very difficult to get past. And then, of course, there's the financial stress, right? If we were the money maker before, it is going to do massive damage to that. And even if we were contributing in just a small way or a decently large way, we're not going to be able to do that anymore either, to a big extent a lot of times. It's going to be very hard for us to work the same hours we did or do the same jobs we were doing before this pain came on. And a lot of times that shifts the responsibility of money making and of bill paying and all that to another party. And that is going to build resentment, build anger, and that frustration. Another big thing that I've seen is if you had a financial plan you were working towards. Say you and your partner had a plan, you've got it down, y'all been making progress, you've been working hard, and then the pain arrives. And those plans can be either derailed or absolutely wrecked. You can wind up having to spend huge sums of money trying to find medical care and get into pain management clinics. It's a nightmare. And all of that rolling on and affecting your loved one and partners, it builds frustration, anxiety, depression, resentment, on and on and on. And all of these issues are so massively under addressed that it is criminal. Now, I think I wanted to tell, I knew a couple when it came to the financial planning and all that. They were married for 7 years, and the last 3 of them, the husband had dealt with chronic pain issues after he hurt his back on a construction job. They had been working towards buying a house that they identified that they wanted in a little, nice little suburb area, not far from where they were staying in their apartment. A 1.5 year, 2-year delay, and his wife, she was not willing to wait anymore on that plan or him. She filed for divorce and she left. And that was, that's because that plan was stalled. She waited as long as I guess she thought she should or could wait. And then when she couldn't wait anymore, she left. And that is such a common occurrence. It breaks my heart how common that is. And then last, it's weird that this is last to some maybe, but mental health of both can suffer. But I put that last because that comes under everything we've already been talking about. All of these issues are going to be drags on the mental health of both you and your partner, loved ones. They are going to cause feelings of resentment, isolation, depression, anger, and on and on. And finding a way to keep those walls from going up that cause that breakdown in communication is, as far as I'm aware, the only way that couples are going to be able to deal with this, find a way forward for them that works, and stay as happy, active, and in a loving situation as possible. That communication is going to be the keystone. The problem is it gets harder and harder to keep that keystone in place, just because the nature of chronic pain is what it is. It is, in many cases, forever. And that has an impact on our loved ones' ability to continue in their empathy, I guess, and to continue with sympathy for us. Because that wanes, right? After 2, 4, 6, 10 years, your family is not looking at you the same way they were the first couple of years you were dealing with this. Your partner is not looking at it the same way they were 5, 10 years before. I myself have been dealing with this for over 10 years, and I can say for a fact, my family still does not get it in a lot of ways. Never will. I lost my fiance. I've lost most of the things I love to do. I can't eat many of the foods I used to love to eat. It has stolen many, many things from me. And it has stolen many, many things from you. And because it's stealing from us, it's isolating us, and it's causing us to live a life that almost nobody in our actual true lives can comprehend, understand, or relate to. We just become more and more isolated. And that all of these things are one of the main reasons that I wanted to launch Chronic Pain Warriors United. I mean, friend, and that's the buddy that helped me come up with this idea. For now, I'm just referring to him as friend because his family doesn't want his name mentioned and other stuff. So my friend who helped me get this ready to go and who got this idea and everything, him and I did this. And before we could get it to launch, he decided to take his own path off of this world. And that comes directly from a lot of the issues that we just talked about. And Chronic Pain Warriors United, one of our main goals is to reach out to people like him, like you that are having these issues and saying, hey, we have lived these issues too. We know what you're going through. If you let us and we can provide advice, we may be able to provide some type of support, and we want to build a community that can help and advise and support each other as well. That is one of the main goals and one of the big drivers of my desire to launch this and get things going as quickly as possible. Because so many feel disconnected, cut off, and it is causing people to lose their lives on a daily basis. So anyways, if you feel like any of that I just talked about relates to you, or if you feel like you know the story that I told at the beginning of the video and you've lived it, any of this, we want your stories. Please get down in the comment section and tell us. We'd love to hear from you. We want to hear y'all's stories and how these things are impacting y'all. Be sure and hit that like button. And I'm Marlon. We'll be back real soon. Thank you all for being here. Chronic Pain Warriors United. Cheers.